everybody. My name is Amanda, and I suffer with mental illness every day of my life. I take medication for it, Visceral for anxiety. I take trilithol, which is a mood stabilizer, and then I take an antipsychotic, which is my Visceral. Invega injection every month. Um, it all started when I was going to graduate from high school. 2 weeks before my graduation, I had a breakdown. I didn't even know what bipolar disorder is. I didn't even know what any mental illness was. Um, they found out that I was bipolar. I was in a mental hospital. I had trouble sleeping. I had where I was out of touch with reality and having delusions. I would trust people very easily, not even my own family. Um, just all kinds of different things. And I was put in a mental institution. I remember being tied down to a bed and screaming for my family, my mom especially, and just yelling for her and yelling for her. I could smoke in that institution. This was in California. And once I was all better, I got on medication for being bipolar and everything. I've been in and out of the hospitals, and when I had my son, I had postpartum depression. I was in a respite center out here in my state, and I stayed there for a little while and whatnot. I've been tied down to beds. I've been tied down to a chair. I've had shots. I remember one time they were trying to give me a shot. They had tons of nurses, and they couldn't. I was fighting them, and I didn't want the shot. And then finally, they talked me down. When you're in a manic state, you have a lot of power. You feel like you can do a lot more than you can, and you just have a lot more power. And for me, when I'm in that state, I get violent, and just all kinds of things. You know, I've had cops try to pin me down and all that, and all that stuff. I don't think that I don't like myself off my medication. That's why I stay on my medication. At one point, I called myself a monster. Um, I've lost lots of sleep before in the past when I wouldn't be on my medication a long time ago before I had my son. And I didn't sleep for weeks and weeks, and I was in a breakdown for 3 months in the hospital at that point. Um, and my mom told me when she was alive that they didn't think that I would get out of the breakdown. They didn't think that I'd come back to reality and come back to the person that I'm supposed to be. Um, so luckily I did. And during that time, I was getting off my Seroquel and Depakote on my own because I didn't want to take it anymore. I didn't like how it made me feel. It's honestly the worst medication that I was ever on. I hated how it made me feel. With that medication, it seemed right when I took it, I'd fall asleep right then and there. I couldn't even do anything, to calm myself down to go to bed or anything. I would just, couldn't even eat anything or nothing. And, whatnot. So I got off that medication, and I got on it in Vega. Before in Vega, I got on Risperdal, but I had really bad tremors. I had really bad tremors with Abilify as well when I was on it a long time ago as well. And my hand clenched up like this when I was on that medication, and it shook so bad that I couldn't even eat anything. I had to eat out of a cup. I'm very sensitive to side effects of medication. My eye has slanted in from a medication that I was on that was Tobamax, and my eye slanted from that. But I got off Invega, and I got off the Seroquel and Depakote on my own, and that's when I had a breakdown for 3 months, not in the hospital. I told them there's no way in hell I will ever be on the medication again. and that I don't want to be on it, but I will be willing to try other medications. So that's when they got me on the Invega. After I was on the Risperdal, I went home and I found out that the Risperdal wouldn't work that great for me because it made me shake. So my doctor got me on Invega, and then I decided to get the injection because it's much easier than taking all kinds of medications and everything. When I was pregnant with my son, I got off pretty much all my medications except the Invega injection. And then after I had my son, I had postpartum depression, a really bad breakdown, and got back on all my medications that I was on previous. Um, I found out recently, 4 months ago or maybe more, that I don't have bipolar disorder anymore, that I have schizoaffective disorder as well. And that's a mixture of bipolar and schizophrenia mixed together, which makes schizoaffective disorder. I was pretty much mad about that because of my doctor not telling me it's time sooner than that. And But it makes sense because of the hallucinations and, the delusions and all that I had, that it makes more sense that I have schizoaffective disorder than bipolar disorder. Schizoaffective disorder also, you have breakdowns a lot more than bipolar disorders, so it makes sense to me. But I've been stable and I've been taking my medication, when I'm supposed to, and getting my injections of my Vega and doing all that. And honestly, medications have saved me a lot because of the fact that they make me a sane person, and they help me not be that person that I am off of them. I'm not violent and all that crazy stuff that I am when I'm off of medication. I've never really hurt people, but I have done some things, that I should not have done, violently and all that. But I've never been arrested. I have been on the back of a police car, but that was to take me to the hospital, and I was handcuffed at that time. But I've never really been so violent that I've beat the shit out of somebody or sent them to the hospital or anything like that. I have, been violent in my past off of medication, but I really have a lot of bad flashbacks, thinking about the times that I've been in the hospitals tied up, and the times that I have been not treated that good in mental hospitals. But I mean, I'll make a whole nother video about that sometime, about mental hospitals, what they do nowadays and whatnot. But it's not fun being tied up to bed or any of that stuff. But I've tried to tell my family how I feel about that, and they pretty much said it's for their safety, and you're out of control and all that. But I just did not like that, and it has traumatized me in my life and everything. So, but yeah, there's only so much they can do for people with mental problems. It sucks that they label us as crazy people, but yeah. So I thought I would talk about that. Please thumbs up, please subscribe. Right, bye.